Why did the Red Sea split? Think about that carefully. An entire body of water. Divided. A path appearing where no path existed before. At first, the story sounds impossible. But maybe the deeper meaning is not only about water. Maybe it is about what happens when people feel trapped. In the book of Exodus, the people stood between two impossible realities. The sea in front of them. An army behind them. No visible escape. No logical solution. Now pause for a moment. Why do stories like this continue to resonate across generations? Because almost everyone understands what it feels like to be trapped. Caught between fear and uncertainty. Pressure and impossibility. Moments where every direction feels blocked. And maybe that is why this story remains powerful. Because the Red Sea represents more than water. It represents obstacles that appear immovable. Situations that feel larger than human ability. Think about modern life. People still face seas. Financial pressure. Emotional exhaustion. Fear of failure. Uncertainty about the future. Situations that seem impossible to move through. And when people face impossible situations, fear grows quickly. That is exactly what happened in the story. The people panicked. They questioned everything. They looked at the obstacle and assumed there was no way forward. But that reaction reveals something deeply human. People often believe what they can immediately see. If no solution appears visible, they assume none exists. And maybe that is one of the deepest themes hidden in the story. The path was there. Before people could see it. Think about that carefully. The possibility already existed. Even while fear convinced them otherwise. And maybe that still happens today more than people realize. People become trapped mentally before they are trapped physically. Fear narrows perspective. Panic limits imagination. Uncertainty convinces people that obstacles are permanent. But then something changes. The sea opens. Not gradually over the years. Suddenly. And a path appears where none seemed possible before. Now think about the symbolism behind that. Water usually blocks movement. It separates. Restricts. Prevents crossing. Yet in this moment, the obstacle becomes the pathway itself. That changes the meaning completely. Because, sometimes, the very thing people fear becomes part of their transformation. The obstacle itself becomes the road forward. And perhaps that is why difficult seasons often change people deeply. Pressure exposes things. Fear exposes things. Uncertainty exposes things. But those moments also develop resilience. Awareness. Strength. Things that comfort rarely produce. Now here is another detail most people overlook. The seed did not split while people remained comfortable. Movement was required. Stepping forward was required. Think about how difficult that must have been. Walking between walls of water. Moving forward, before complete certainty existed. That requires trust. And trust becomes difficult when fear dominates the mind. Because people naturally want guarantees before they move. Complete visibility. Complete understanding. Complete certainty. But many important moments in life do not work that way. Sometimes clarity appears during movement. Not before it. And maybe that is why this story still matters. Because people often remain stuck waiting for total certainty. Waiting until every fear disappears. Waiting until every risk is removed. But growth rarely happens inside complete comfort. Transformation usually requires movement through uncertainty. Now think about what happened after the crossing. The same sea that became a pathway closed again. Why does that matter? Because some transitions are irreversible. Some moments permanently separate the past from the future. And perhaps that is another hidden layer in the story. Crossing changes identity. People are not the same after moving through difficult seasons. Pain changes perspective. Survival changes perspective. Freedom changes perspective. And maybe that is why people often look back at difficult moments differently over time. What once felt like destruction later becomes a transformation. Now think about modern culture. People desperately avoid uncertainty. Constant planning. Constant control. Constant prediction. But life remains unpredictable. Unexpected changes still happen. Unexpected obstacles still appear, and perhaps the Red Sea story continues to resonate because it confronts a universal fear. The fear that there is no way forward. But the story suggests something different. That possibilities may exist beyond immediate visibility. That obstacles are not always permanent. That fear does not always tell the full truth. And that sometimes the path only becomes visible when movement begins. So the real question is not, why did the Red Sea split? The real question is, what obstacles have we already decided are impossible? Simply because we cannot yet see the path through them. And what might change if we stopped assuming every closed path was permanent? If this made you think differently, subscribe to Grace Unseen for more hidden biblical truths and deeper meanings behind the stories most people overlook.